they're gone. And the one thing that I thought of was vehicle stickers. Remember effing vehicle stickers? What a pain in the ass that was. Did you have a whole different perspective on vehicles? Did you ever have to issue those, Eric?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Air Force Form 2220s.
Oh, I hate you.
Oh, look at this guy.
Yeah.
Because that was the biggest pain in the ass when you PCS or you went to somewhere. And sometimes they ran short and you had to wait.
And do you remember if you were getting a new vehicle, you had to scrape the sticker and bring it in to get a new one?
Yes, I remember trying to do that.
And for the civilians out there or the youngins out there, that vehicle sticker was pretty close to the exact same material as the date on your license plate. So when you put your registration on your license plate, that renewal sticker, and it just dissolves. As soon as you hit it with the razor blade, it doesn't come off in a real piece. It just comes off shredded. That's what you had to do, is scrape that thing off.
Put it on a piece of paper.
You had
and you had to bring it in. It was so dumb.
Yeah. You had the vehicle ID number as a sticker. You had your base underneath it as a sticker. Right. And then you had the renewal date on the side as a sticker.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. Vertically on
three
the side.
pieces.
Yeah,
that's right.
So 3 pieces, 3 separate pieces, and they just all dissolved as soon as you thought about scraping them.
There was it wasn't a website, it was software where you created windows. What do you guys remember the name of that? It was an old software.
What, like you could print your own?
No, I'm not talking about the actual sticker. I'm talking about what we had to load into this database.
Oh, really?
Oh.
The number of the decal, the year, the date issued, to whom, and I forgot what, it wasn't like Excel. It wasn't, but it was some type of
early.
It was just paint.
Windows
Paint.
We had some guy in the cop field created this thing, and oh my God, what a pain in the ass.
Well, if I remember right, now I'm confused. I thought it went in. Didn't it go in like the center top of your windshield
initially?
Yeah, because I remember putting it in the center top, but then they moved it to the corner
because they wanted it behind your rear
driver's side corner.
Yeah, and then the guard went to the guard could read it easier that way.
Correct. But they decided that at a lot of times when you approach the gate, the sun and glare, you couldn't see it in the center. So they wanted it to move over to the lower left part of the driver down at the bottom.
And then it was hell because Jake, you sent me that picture. If you had to put it on the forks of your motorcycle, because now you had no choice but to scratch up that brushed aluminum or whatever it was on your forks to replace it with the new one. And it would just jack the finish up trying to get that stuff out. You couldn't get it off with anything.
Yeah, people used to hate it. Because I knew officers who thought that they would be able to, what they would do is they'd get like a metal plate, a piece of aluminum or something, stick it on the plate, and then stick it on their dashboard. And we used to confiscate them and point them to the visitor center and say, that's not going to work, pal. Because you can give it to somebody else. On a fork. Right.
Yeah, you were off the headset, but yeah. And then if you kept that to the next base, then you had all the fucking scratch marks of trying to get the old one.
Scrape it off.
That was the best adhesive. Whatever that was. That was magic adhesive. It
was super glue shit, man. I hated those things.
Oh my God, that was so shitty.
The other thing that we wanted to get rid of, and we finally did, are the Air Force Form 1800s. Vehicle discrepancies when you took over the vehicle. You had to do your 1800 check.
That 1800 check on the vehicle. You had to do the walk around. You had to do the blinkers. You had to do the oil, the air. And I'm like, good night. Stop doing the air.
That was a waste of time.
Right, you had to check the air and the tire pressure. Oh, you know exactly why. Because somebody drove off without oil in it 1 or 14 times.
Sure, right.
And then the engine blew up.
It was for every 18-year-old out there who didn't take didn't
as many times as you checked the oil, no wonder it became short of oil because you were wiping it off the stick so many damn times.
Same with the air in the tires.
Yes.
It's
You're
same
checking
thing
it
with the air in the
constantly.
tire.
And I remember
Oh.
checking those for some of the soldiers, and they're like, "Here's my form," and I was like, "I actually got to open the door." And they're like, "No, please." Because it would just be smoke or pot or whatever, and it's just soaked into the fabric, of their
Yeah.
car. So as soon as you open it, you're like, God.
For me, it was what Jake was talking about. Some bored ass cop, carved his initials
Scratching.
to the door with a bayonet or some stupid shit.
Yep.
And I'm like, I can't accept your vehicle. Why? Because your initials are in the fucking dashboard. Dash. I'm like, ugh.
Yep.
Nuts.
Uh,
Call the vehicle
uh,
NCO.
Or they thought it would be funny when they were pulling in to the guy next to him. They thought it would be funny to get as close as possible and then pop a mirror off. You're like, oh, you kidding me? Now, to be fair, we always had a ladder in the back of our bread van, and we had right. It was a bread truck, a bread van, right?
right.
We had multiple bread vans, but we had one that was like a Chevy van front end and then the box on the back, and it had the door in the side.
Okay. Yeah.
And we had a ladder at the top of the 2 steps. There's a ladder bolted against the side, and it had a safety 1 string and a clip on it.
Okay.
And honestly, we may have been dicking around on the ice and the flight line. Well, that clip broke because we were sliding around, drifting around a corner, and then the ladder goes boom and blows out the freaking window on the side of the truck.
Shit!
We're like,
did it really?
yeah. We're like,
Jake, you might be able to relate to this. I don't think Marty can, because I don't think so. Everywhere we went, if we were on the flight line, every cop had to have a second set of vehicle chalks.
Oh yeah, for your vehicle
chalks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, Marty? That big
You had to-
yellow blocks.
I
with
know
a
what a
rope?
chalk
chalk
your
is.
vehicle.
Yeah, I know what a chalk is. Yeah.
Okay, well, we used to use them and throwing them on the ice where they would
Yep.
slide. Of course, you're fucking
Yep.
shit up. You're smashing vehicles.
Alaska, we had, because there was so much ice, we didn't have the wooden chalks because they would do nothing but
They would do
slide.
nothing.
Yeah, that's what we had.
We had
Wooden chalk.
rope, like a rope, piece of rope that was like that big around, and
Tethered to another one, same size?
3 feet long of
Ooh.
rope, like big rope, and you would put that around the wheel.
Okay.
Does that have
And
more grip?
It would grip it would grip the
yeah.
ice better because it was braided,
Yeah.
but it was
it-
freaking huge diameter.
Do they still chalk vehicles on the fly line? I'm assuming they do.
I would assume so.
All right. I used to hate that shit too.
There's the other thing I thought of too that I'm
Vehicle
glad
chalks.
is gone.
But that came about because somebody forgot to put something
Everything
in park.
everything in the military comes about because somebody fucked something up.
Screwed
Yeah,
something up.
somebody got hurt, or somebody
somebody's
got
vehicle rolled into a hangar door or an airplane. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But the other thing I thought of that I'm glad is gone is calling cards. Remember calling cards that had that set amount? They were like prison cigarettes. I remember.
Those AT&T calling cards.
Yeah, because banks would give them out
Yep.
for promotional stuff, or MWR, you could win them. Remember, you
Well, that
could
was
win
when
a
you still
calling
had
card.
phone booths with it, right?
Yeah, you could
Still had that
get a
phone booth.
$25 phone card. That's money. I mean, that was money.
Well, how many times did you have to make a collect call home?
Well,
I would
of course,
I would like to call
You would
collect.
yeah.
Mr.
We
Perrine,
would
your
get
son
morale
Kyle is
calls.
calling long distance. Will you accept the charges?
No.
Right. If you did morale calls, though, you would have to connect to
Through
the
the
closest base
Yeah.
to whoever you're calling, to the base operator, and say, hey, I want to make a morale call.
Yeah.
And they would literally connect you.
Yeah, most of that was from overseas.
I would have to call a lot, or I would call Washington because there's no bases, active duty bases in Oregon. So I would call Washington when I was deployed, just so I could talk to my parents.
Oh,
But
really?
Here's
Really?
here's something. Here's a little vintage something. I don't know if you can see it.
I can see
It's
it.
my
A
liquor ration.
card.
Oh, your
my
liquor ration
God.
My Aludid alcohol ration card.
Oh my
God, when did they
God.
do that? Was that one of your first deployments there?
That was my first deployment to Aludid, yeah.
God
Wow.
dang.
And then after
That's
that, we
nice.
went to your card. You scanned your card
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
computer.
It had you
So-
on check. That's pretty cool.
So that was my first deployment with those guys. But my first deployment with the fighter squadron, there's my Kuwaiti line badge.
Oh shit.
And they freaking cut out
They cut that
the
V out,
number.
right? Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
be damned.
Oh shit.
All written.
Air
in-
Force cops issue that? Would they issue those?
We
issued-
we
who
would
is?
get one from the Air Force cops, and then we would also have to get one from the Kuwaitis.
Okay.
So the Kuwaiti flight line administrative people.
You know what's wild now though, if you think about it, with the way the uniforms have changed? You know what all military doesn't have to worry about anymore? Fucking Kiwi. Think about it.
What?
They Kiwi. They don't have to shine
Polish.
Oh
because
yeah.
it's all suede stuff now.
Yeah.
right? 20 years
Yeah.
in the desert has given us suede boots. So you don't have to shine anything. And remember how everybody had a technique, right? Everybody had
Cotton balls,
Yep.
water.
But you ever run into the guy who swears he can get it better with his finger?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Two
those guys,
fingers.
It's just like, yeah. And I was like, God dang, man. The hours we spent doing
A
that,
lot.
and now they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, ever since the honor guards became a big deal and they started wearing that what do they call like the dress shoe that we used to have?
The low
The
The
quarters
core
or-
frames.
The chloroframs. And it was the same material on the boots for the honor
Well,
guards.
yeah, but you weren't issued core frames, were you?
No. I was
No, so
issued
you
a
had to
regular
shine all
shoe that you had to
shit.
shine.
But then your
But then I
regular
bought 'em.
boots, you had to shine those.
Not once there was an honor guard thing. We did an honor guard and we got chloroform boots and they had the white ladder lacing.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about your regular uniform.
So am I. I'm talking afterwards. Once we got the honor guard boots, we could wear them with our normal day-to-day ops.
We're basically that
That shiny ass
shine?
chloroform boot. Yes.
and your supervisor let you wear that shit?
Yep. And most of
Really?
and on the law enforcement side, it was only the guys in blues. So that, the security guys
yeah.
out on the flight line were wearing
Those
regular
guys,
jump
and then they
boots.
bloused their
Yeah.
Jump
boots, their blues over the top of their boots.
Right.
Correct. Yeah. So us guys out on the security on the ramps and stuff, we had regular jump boots that we had to shine the toe.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I mean,
But you could also get chloroform toe and heel.
Yeah,
Remember
just
that?
just a toe.
Just
and
the
heel,
toe
yeah.
and heel.
Yeah.
well,
It
yeah.
never lasted though. That's the problem.
No,
It never.
it would tear and crack.
Yeah. It would crack all the
Yeah, the
time.
durability was shit, but it looked
Yeah.
Yeah.
great. But
But you're right. I had 24 cans of fucking kiwi underneath my sink. Yeah.
remember just how fanatical people were about their technique?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you gotta light that new fucking kiwi on fire.
Oh, we would
Yeah.
always light it on fire.
Right?
Melt it.
You'd light it
Yes.
on
It'll
fire.
go on.
Then put the lid, and then you
Right.
freaking get the cotton ball or the old shirt, and
Yeah.
freaking.
No, I could never get it as good with an old shirt that I could.
How about the guys that tried the floor wax?
Oh,
remember
that
the
would
ones that-
crack instantly. too.
Instant.
Yeah,
But
I
you
know,
had
that
a
was
hell
worth
of a shine initially when you put it on.
Well,
You
if
did.
you have that,
high gloss.
set in your wall locker or your for inspection that you never wear,
You could
Right.
leave it.
yeah, you could leave it, never worry about
They don't do that shit anymore. Like,
No, the
it.
one.
That's why I
the one
brought
thing.
it up.
No,
you're right. I mean, you're right.
All that shit's gone. Or starch.
As-
They don't starch
yeah.
shit anymore, right?
No.
But as soon as hydraulic fluid hit those polished boots, it would
it would
never
either way.
freaking polish again. Ever.
Oh, you could never get the
you would
film
have
off the
you would have a drip line of hydraulic fluid that it would
Oh,
just
shit.
eat every bit of wax off
Yeah.
straight down to
And
the
you couldn't
raw
strip
leather.
it because it was all the way down.
Couldn't
so-
Yep.
strip it, and then
Oh man.
you
Trash the
couldn't
leather.
add that. that spot would always be just jacked. You're like, man, done.
The troops today don't know what they're missing, man.
But you're right, Marty. Like, remember those guys that would dilute Elmer's glue?
I
You would
heard
take
that. I've never
Elmer's.
tried it. I never.
Oh yeah,
tried
no,
it,
you
though.
would flip the uniform inside out, and you'd get the
Heard this.
white Elmer's glue,
Yeah.
and you would do like 50-50 water to Elmer's glue,
Yeah.
and you would spray it on
Oh,
there,
so it'd keep that crease.
and then you flip it back and iron it, and
Yeah.
that glue would set.
That
But then as soon as
crease
you put
was
your arms in it, it would basically tear that Elmer's glue out, but that crease was freaking in
Yeah,
it.
you can
Wow.
do it.
I never saw that. I figured all the cops
Oh.
knew all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cops, that's who I learned
I
it
didn't
from.
get, we always did the
look.
liquid starch, the
Yeah,
same
I
Well,
way.
did
You
yeah.
starch
pour it
too.
in the
I
center,
shine the shit.
liquid.
But
and you're trying to
that
get-
would wash out.
That's true.
Yeah.
But remember trying to get the last of that faded BDU out or whatever, and you're shining, and you go over the button and it pops through. You're like, motherfuck!
Yeah.
Well, you guys weren't in when they still had the green permanent
Yeah, the
press,
pickle suits.
and they had
I
a
never
cotton.
pickled.
They had a cotton pickle, and that's the one you could fucking stand up like a piece of cardboard.
Oh,
You
really?
could starch it to the point where it would literally stand up in a corner, man.
And it was so crazy that we would do that for the work uniform. Go out in the sun with a uniform that's non-breathable
Yeah.
by
Mhm.
any stretch of the imagination. There was no air going
Yep.
through the starched BDU that I had, and you're just sweating from the neck hole and the arms because everything else is tucked and covered. And you're
We
just
should have some of our
so
listeners
sweaty in that thing.
send us something that they did in that hot ass
Oh,
uniform.
man.
Hey, there's
Starched under.
a bunch of all that old stuff, right? You know, all
Yeah.
that stuff that you don't have to worry about. And I don't do that with like, oh, I miss the days of sitting in the bathroom polishing my boots. No, I don't. So these
No.
guys have it great. These guys have it.
No.
They don't have to starch your uniform. They don't have to polish boots. All their brass is that or what was that? Stay Bright stuff. They don't have to. Remember Brasso?
Oh
Jesus.
yeah,
Yeah.
What a pain in the ass
Yeah.
Brasso was, right?
that
What?
make my shield shiny. God.
But if you didn't get all that shit out of there, then you had the little green film in the corners, right?
Yeah.
That was it. And
What-
I'm like,
Almost
I hated
looked like rust.
PCSing because you'd have to sew on those badges, right? Those patches.
yeah.
And if the new unit, like you had a crest at one unit and then the next unit was a circle.
Like a badge or
You're right. You had
yeah.
the squadron.
was covered.
It would be
patch.
great if the next unit
Or-
was bigger.
Yeah.
It never
Right?
was.
Because every one of those patches had some sort of plastic glue or something on the back that would instantly bind, never actually hold the patch on,
Yep.
but it would never come off the fabric.
It left.
had
It
that-
stained
Oh,
it.
it's
That permanent
forever.
shadow on there.
Yeah.
Right.
Forever.
right.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, your first sergeant or supervisor is going to say, "No, you need to go get a new shirt.
That's
You
right.
need
Yeah.
to replace that shirt."
Yeah.
First.
And you'd have 4 good uniforms that you're like,
Yep.
man, I got to get rid of. And
Well,
then, and you'd
Go-
have to buy the pants too, because the top
You
and the
couldn't have
pants
their two
faded
different
at the
colors.
same
Right.
time. Yeah.
right. They're two different
You're
colors.
like, I got to get 4 all new uniforms.
So I think I probably told this story before, but the Army all had their patch on the left, and if you went to the combat, it was on your
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
But everybody's patch was on the right, and I started off in the 5th Infantry Division, which was a small little diamond. It was beautiful because almost every patch in the Army was bigger than that. So, but you would go to Fort Hood when I was part of 2nd Armored Division. I know I've said this before, but this is relevant. Patton said a long time ago, back in the 40s, that the 2nd Armored Division should be close to your heart. So instead of putting the big triangle patch on your shoulder, you had to sew it right here on your breast. So whenever you PCS, you're like, okay, there's 5 uniforms
That
are
shirts that are
unusable now,
gone.
right? So,
I can't imagine being in first cav, because that cav,
first cav was the biggest.
dude,
Yes,
that patch is freaking huge.
I think it was first cav, and then the God, I think it's the 2nd Infantry Division, the one that used to be in Korea with the big Indian head. Between
Oh.
first cav and that big Indian head, those were the 2 biggest patches in the Army.
Well,
So-
and the Air Force was the same way when you changed commands. You had
Oh,
a
yeah.
PACAF patch, a Europe patch,
Oh,
a
yeah.
Yep.
frickin'
Right.
SEC patch, a
Right.
MAC patch. We had them
And they were
on our berets for the crest until we went to Defensor Fortis, and then everybody went
Yeah.
to the same flash. But
Which
we
is
had
funny
those
because the
metal.
Air Force, you had more patches because you had
Oh yes,
your pocket patches.
You had
right?
both pockets and then
Yeah.
an
your
upper chest.
qualification badges.
Yep.
Yep.
And yep.
Totally ruined all those BDUs. All right.
Oh man.
So much
That was
for
a good rant. That was a good
history
rant.
lane. Yes, it was a good rant. We'll see if it makes it into the final version, but
Why not?